Yes, it looks like Valve, once again, waited for me to be AFK before delivering a CSGO update worth covering. I'm happy to be doing my bit for the community. But now I'm back, let's cover, literally, the biggest update ever so far this month. We knew an update of some sort was coming. Valve always waits until after the major to post all the big and potentially game-breaking updates, and sometimes even an operation as well. But not one of those this time. A week ago, Valve tweeted asking for Anubis puns. I am very disappointed that nobody suggested this. But still, Ryan won the pun competition with his suggestion of a new map, Ubis, getting his suggestion as the title of the blog post and his name forever immortalised on CSGO's blog page. Well done, Ryan. And the headline news is that Dust2's dusty old design has been swapped out for Anubis's dusty new design. This is huge. For over 20 years, Dust2 has been among the most popular and prominent maps in Counter-Strike, and now it sees itself taking more of a back seat. It's not all bad because Anubis is awesome, but it is still a sad day for me as I'd much rather Mirage had been removed instead. But clearly, you don't feel the same way. As Penis Taste Tester pointed out, Dust2 had been the least played map in Majors this year. Meanwhile, Mirage was the most played. So that could be why Dust2 was taken out. But my heart tells me that the map still has a part to play in Counter-Strike, for good or evil, before all this is over, and I expect it to remain a popular choice in more casual modes like Deathmatch. But the competitive scene may be moving on, although Valve went to lengths to reassure people that it'll still be playable. But what a map Anubis is! It's just one of those maps that everybody seems to like. It's colourful and sunny and plays rather well too. I've taken a real shine to it, and I look forward to watching pros finally being subjected to a newish community-made map. The way that most maps have been featured to date means that anybody serious about the game doesn't bother learning them because they know they'll be removed again in a couple of months. So seeing Anubis earn a more permanent place inside the game can only be a good thing for the mapping community for Counter-Strike. And the other half of this update involves changes to two of the most popular weapons in the game. The AWP's magazine capacity, has been halved down to just 5 bullets. This is still enough to ace with, but not enough to make any mistakes with anymore. I don't think it will affect me too much because I'm lucky to fire off more than one shot before I die, but I immediately thought back to iconic AWP moments in CSGO, like Cold Zero's B site defense or Mirage, and how such a change would have affected those moments. But just so you know, this one would still have happened as is. But had Taco not finished the 5th player off, with just a 5-clip AWP, Cold Zero would have been in a lot of trouble. Moments like these are something I'd like to investigate further, but not today. Still, I can't help but feel that it's a bit mean on the AWP to nerf it like this, especially when, judging from all the overpowered Overwatch clips I get, it's the Scout that's in more need of a nerf. The M4A1S's distant damage has also been nerfed. The damage that bullets inflict in CSGO drops as the distance increases. All weapons suffer from this, even the AWP, just by not very much. Other categories like pistols and SMGs drop by a lot more, some by as much as 20 or even 25% for every 500 units the bullets travel, which is why those guns are so bad in long range combat. Now most rifles are fairly good, dropping somewhere between 1 and 4%. The M4A1S used to be one of the best, dropping by only 1%, but this update has increased that value to 6%, making it now the worst rifle for this stat in the game. Luckily, the M4A1S has the highest base damage, which kind of offsets it somewhat. Not that you'd have known that because previously had its headshot damage nerfed. What can I say? The M4A1S is the target of every Valve attempt to try and balance the rifles, so it's had all kinds of weird quirks added to it at this point. So instead of trying to describe this gun's behaviour, have this graph instead. The M4A4 is in green and the M4A1S before this update is in red. And you can see that as these bullets travel further, the damage they can inflict decreases. The M4A1S's higher base damage means that it could deal more in the first place, and this damage dropped off slower at distance than with the M4A4. That was before the update though. But now you can see this orange line, and this is from after the update. What a change! Point blank damage remains exactly the same, but from far enough away it will now deal even less damage than the M4A4 does. Granted, this crossover occurs quite a long distance away. Very few engagements will result in the M4A1S dealing meaningfully less damage than the M4A4 would have done under the same circumstances. But it can still happen. One such place this does happen is on Dust2 at A long. Engagements here can be as far away as 2,800 units, at which point the M4A1S will deal less damage than the M4A4 does. Bear in mind the difference it makes is still small. It will still only take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Valve, please, 9. Perhaps base damage is the least of your worries when first shot inaccuracy is a thing in this game. But it's not like this map matters anymore anyway. Overpass's Park can be as much as 2,300 units away. at which point the M4A4 and M4A1S inflict roughly the same amount of damage. And on Anubis, this sightline is just under 2,000 units long, and from CT spawn to B it's about 1,700 units, so in both these instances the M4A1S's base damage will still be the higher of the two. But the problem is the headshots. It's bad to try and hit such a small target at this sort of distance anyway. First shot inaccuracy suggests I'd be better off aiming for the centre of mass, being the target's bodies instead. Even with the M4A1S, which is meant to be one of the most accurate rifles for this sort of thing. Not that you'd know that from these clips, would you? Sorry, I mean magazines. But there's another reason why M4A1S headshots won't get you ahead in life. Headshots typically multiply the weapon's damage by 4. This is the case with all weapons in Counter-Strike, apart from the Deagle, which is 3.9, and with the M4A1S, which Valve had previously nerfed down to just 3.475. This is why, despite the highest base damage, it doesn't one-hit headshot helmeted enemies, whereas the AK-47 can. This also means that at long distances, even if the base damage of the two M4 rifles is similar, the M4A1S's headshot damage is now much, much lower than the M4A4's is. This is how much damage a headshot will do against an unhelmeted enemy. No, this isn't a mistake. Both M4 rifles deal the exact same headshot damage at point blank range, both before and after this latest update. So this is why the M4A1S multiplies headshot damage by 3.475 rather than by 4 like every other weapon does. It really was done just to offset its higher base damage, but this damage drop-off update has made it so that the M4A1S has gone from dealing more damage at range than the M4A4 to dealing less, essentially leapfrogging the M4A4 on the road to shitness. For instance, if you headshot an unhelmeted enemy from across park on overpass, dare I risk it? With the M4A4 you do 114 damage, but with the M4A1S, whereas it used to inflict 126, it will now do just 99. No longer an instant kill. Suddenly, all those little tweaks this weapon has received make a big difference. I mean, this is if you both have your backs up against the wall. In reality, you'll likely be stood slightly closer to each other, and so it should still be a one-hit kill. But this is roughly the distance where the M4A1S's nerfed stats start to become meaningful. With armour, it's a similar story. One chest and one body shot used to be a guaranteed kill at any distance, but now beyond about 1,400 units, which looks like this, it will no longer be enough to kill an armoured enemy using the M4A1S. The M4A4's range is greater, still not infinite, but for all but the longest sightlines it should still kill with a head and upper body shot. At this point I could go through all the different combinations of body, groin and headshots and distances that could kill, but I won't. I'll just say that the M4A1S is now a confused thing. It's the most accurate rifle of the two, but better suited to close range combat. But then the M4A4 is better for close range combat because of its larger bullet capacity and higher fire rate. But then, since the M4A1S deals slightly higher damage, groin shots may kill in one less shot than with the M4A4, which should offset the slightly lower fire rate somewhat. What can I say? The balance between the two M4 rifles has been shaken up, but one thing's for sure, the M4A1S still sounds better. It's great to finally have an update to the game worth covering again. Unfortunately though, I don't have any more holidays planned, so it could be a while until the next.